in the grace and knowledge of him who saves us by his blood. Let us put down roots to deep water. Let us drink from the fountain of life. And we shall be like trees planted by the waters, planted by rivers wide and deep. Trees green and fruitful, bearing fruit of love in the vineyard of the King. Come, let us grow in the grace and knowledge of God's Spirit by which we're sealed, studying the riches of his word. Let us eat of the bread that he gives, and we shall be like trees planted by the waters, planted by rivers wide and deep. Trees green and fruitful, bearing fruit of love in the vineyard of the King. Come, let us grow in the grace and knowledge of he who calls us by his Son. Let us gather now at his table. Let us feast on the richest of food. And we shall be like trees planted by the waters, planted by rivers wide and deep. Trees green and fruitful, bearing fruit of love in the vineyard of the King. I wonder what monkey is doing today. I'm sure if he had to go down and excuse me. Good morning. Let's edify one another this morning, shall we?
Why, yes, let's do that.
That didn't take them long to clean up that broken tree.
Yeah.
No, it's already gone. I think it was a lightning strike. Tree just to the right of that one had a section of bark missing. Like it was, it came down one that the one that blew over or cracked, and probably jumped to the other one. My guess, but it was gone totally.
Yep.
Put that up. Put that up there. That up there either. So, good morning, good morning, good morning. Who we got here? We got one lurker. Must be Alicia.
I don't want to.
Oh, booger. I don't remember what the password is for that. No, I'm not going to do that right yet. Doesn't need to happen anyway. Sure. Oh, yeah, back up. Good. Good morning, Reba. Good morning, Skylar. You know it. That's why I'm sitting inside instead of out on the deck. Good evening, Sam. Good to see ya. Ready to get to this? Hope so. Let's get on to it. Lesson 269, Part 2. The I Grow Daily Devotion, a book written by Philip Johnson, produced by Focus Press. There is a link in the description of this video. There should be one coming up in the chat screen in just a couple of seconds. There it is. And there's one scrolling across the screen under the hair of my chinny chin chin. Hello, Shaya. Oh, wait, that's Alicia.
Hello.
Huh? Hello, Shaya.
In spirit.
We have the spirit of O'Shea talking to us from beyond the table. Good morning, Maureen. So we're going to put 1 minute on the clock. As we spend that minute, we're going to meditate on the following words. Nothing can give us so great relief in the trials and an interesting word there, Alicia. In the trials and sorrows of life as a loving relationship with God. We're just going to call you Lurch. One minute. Nothing can give us so great relief in the trials and sorrows of life as a loving relationship with God. All right. Let's put our minds and eyes to work as we turn in our Bibles to Proverbs 23, and we're going to reread that chapter. Proverbs 23. When thou sittest to eat with a ruler, consider diligently what is before thee, and put a knife to thy throat, if thou be a man given to appetite. Be not desirous of his dainties, for they are deceitful meat. Labor not to be rich. Cease from thine own wisdom. Wilt thou set thine eyes upon that which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away as an eagle toward heaven. Eat thou not the bread of him that hath an evil eye, neither desire thou his dainty meats. Verse 23, please, Alicia. Excuse me, not 23, but verse 7. Thank you. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. The morsel which thou hast eaten, thou shalt thou vomit up, and lose thy sweet words. Morning, Sister T. Remove not the old landmark, and enter not into the fields of the fatherless, for their Redeemer is mighty. He shall plead their cause with thee. Apply thine heart unto instruction, and thine ears to the words of knowledge. Withhold not correction from the child,
For if thou beatest him with the rod, he shall not die. Gracias. Thou shalt beat him with the rod, and shalt deliver his soul from hell. My son, if thine heart be wise, my heart shall rejoice, even mine. Yea, my reins shall rejoice when thy lips speak right things. Let not thine heart envy sinners, but be thou in the fear of the Lord all the day long. For surely there is an end, and thine expectation shall not be cut off. Hear thou, my son, and be wise, and guide thine heart in the way. Be not among wine bibbers, among riotous eaters of flesh. For the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags. Hearken unto thy father that begat thee, and despise not thy mother when she is old. Buy the truth and sell it not. Wisdom and instruction and understanding. The father of the righteous shall be glad. Wait a minute. Father righteous shall greatly rejoice, and he that begetteth a wise child shall have joy in him. Thy father and thy mother shall be glad, and she that bare thee shall rejoice. My son, give me thine heart, and let thine eyes observe my ways. For a whore is a deep ditch, and a strange woman is a narrow pit. She also lieth in wait as for a prey, and increaseth the transgressors among men. Who hath woe? Who hath sorrow? Who hath contentions? Who hath babbling? Who hath wounds without cause? Who hath redness of eye? They that tarry long at the wine, they that go to seek mixed wine. Look not thou upon the wine when it is red, when it giveth his color in the cup, when it moveth itself aright. At the last it biteth like an serpent, and stingeth like an adder. Thine eyes. What in the world? Okay.
That makes sense.
Thine eyes shall behold strange women, and thine heart shall utter perverse things. Yea, thou shalt be as he that lieth down in the midst of the sea, or as he that lieth upon the top of a mast. They have stricken me, shalt thou say, and I was not sick. They have beaten me, and I felt it not. When shall I awake? I will seek it yet again. Let's put 3 minutes on the clock as we answer or record our answers for these three questions. Question number one. Write down one question or observation you have over this chapter. Good coffee this morning. It's aged well.
As we've been.
Question number two. What advice from this proverb will help you overcome temptations? That's interesting. Question number 3. Write out one action step you will take in your life based on today's reading. Begin your answer with I will. Well, where did we put that? Anyway, hi, Anna. Good to see you.
Amazing. Those are the translation.
That's what I was thinking, but it isn't.
Okay.
That's why I found it rather interesting. I was thinking it might have been something Jesus said,
Yeah. I'm quoting it.
but it's not him. Yeah, it all comes from that verse, even though it doesn't. Looks like that's where it comes from, but that's not what it says. Because anyway, okay. Question number 1. Write out one question or observation you have over this chapter. Sam would like me to expand on verse 16. Okay, I will, but you can't just simply pull one verse out of context, especially when it's the second half of a sentence. Um, and Alicia, why are we not? Maybe we are. Oh, I'm in the ASB. Never mind. Gotta go back to KJV. All right. Verse 16 is part of the thought or sentence of verse 15. So let's begin with verse 15. My son, if thine heart be wise, my heart shall rejoice, even mine. Yes, my reins shall rejoice when thy lips speak right things. So what we're dealing with here in verse 16 is 15 and 16 is the admonition of a father to a son. And the father says, son, be wise. When you are wise, I can rejoice. And my heart will rejoice in your wisdom. And it's like your father saying, son, I'm proud of you. You did good. And he says, yes, even my reins shall rejoice. In other words, as we would say, my entire being. No, you're not only allowed one verse, you're allowed one question.
You there?
And the ESV reads it this way: my son, if your heart is wise, my heart too will be glad. My innermost being, or my inmost being, will exult when your lips speak what is right. And so a father takes pride, he rejoices in the wisdom when his son does good, when his son speaks right. Um, I can't tell you how often that listening to O'Shea on stream, my heart does, does its leaping for joy, if you will, because of the wisdom that young man shows. And it's not just O'Shea, but there is a certain amount of rejoicing that I have when CJ does it, because he's just like a son to me. And I can say as well that there are times uh, that a father will be disappointed and his innermost being does not rejoice. There are times that a son will say something or do something that will cause a father to go, huh? And it will bring about a period of introspection, and not just where did I go wrong type of an introspection, but rather uh, I never saw it in that light type of an introspection. So the idea here between 15 and 16 is one of a father who has watched his son grow up, and the son is now making his own choices, and the father says, if you be wise, if your heart be wise, then my heart will rejoice. My innermost being will rejoice when you speak right things. It's not just uh, doing the right things, but also saying the right things. Um, Remember that Jesus said, in Matthew 15, verse 19, backing up, we'll look at it when discussing what it is that defiles a person. In Matthew 15, he says in verse 17 through 20, do not ye yet understand that whatsoever entereth in at the mouth goeth into the belly and is cast out into the draught? But those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile the man. For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemies. These are the things which defile a man, but to eat with unwashed hands defileth not a man. So you want to link this particular section, basically 15 verses 10 through 20, for the whole context of what Jesus says, with Proverbs chapter 23, verses 15 and 16. And 23, verse 18 in no, 18 does not say the same thing as 15 and 16. Not even in different words. If you're talking about, oh, okay. So that's not for question one. Okay, gotcha. Sam, stay focused. Don't do that to me. Um, so 15 and 16, you know, show what it is that defiles a man. You know, I mean, not shows what it defiles a man, but shows how a father rejoices over the good, the wise character of his son. If your heart be wise, my heart will be glad, even mine. Now, how do you tell, Father, how my heart is wise? Well, my heart will rejoice, or even my innermost being will rejoice when your lips speak right things. Jesus says it in a little bit different. For out of the heart cometh all these other things, and out of the mouth proceeds whatever it is that the heart is thinking. It's not what goes in, but what comes out. And it ties in really well with verse um, 26 and or 23, verse 6 and 7. Eat thou not the bread of him that hath an evil eye. Verse 6. Um, Neither desire thou his dainties, for, verse 7, as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. And so 7 is also, 6 and 7 is also tying right along with Matthew chapter 15, verses 10 through 20, wherein what is it that's defiling a man? What it is that comes from the heart. As he thinketh in his heart, so is he. If he is a vile and corrupt person on the inside, his speech and his actions are going to reflect that. Maybe not right, and it may not be apparent right away, but it will reflect that. And so a father can rejoice because of the wise speech of his son demonstrates the wise heart that is within him. Answer number 2. Verse 35. They have stricken me, shalt thou say, and I was not hurt. They have beaten me, and I felt it not. When shall I awake? I will seek it yet again. Again, this goes back to in context, beginning in verse 31. Contextually, verse 35 is the result of someone who has, actually, not verse 31. We're going to begin in verse 29. Contextually, it begins in verse 29. Who hath woe? Who hath sorrow? Who hath contentions? That is, arguments. Who hath babbling? Uncontrolled speech. Who hath wounds without cause? Who is it that takes offense at the least amount of thing, the least little thing? Who has redness of eyes? Well, there's a lot of people that have redness of eyes. Those who are crying, for example. But when you take all of these symptoms together, you find out that it is indeed someone, verse 30, they who tarry long at the wine, those that go to seek mixed wine. So it's the alcoholics, those who are drinking. And Solomon is not painting a very pretty picture, is he? Verse 30, they that tarry long at the wine, they that go to seek out mixed wine. And Solomon says, do not look upon the wine when it is red. Verse 31, please, Alicia. Keep up. When it giveth his color in the cup, as in when it's sparkling in the cup, when it moveth itself aright. You know how people like to appear all sophisticated and what have you by they taking their cup and sloshing the wine around a little bit. Oh, look at the color to it. It's got great color. It's got good consistency. They'll sniff it. And, oh, it smells really, got a good fragrance to it. Then they'll kind of sip it and, you know, roll it around in their mouth. It's got a good flavor, and they're all so sophisticated. He's like, don't look upon it when it's red, when it gives its color in the cup, when it moves itself aright, because at the last it bites like a serpent, stings like an adder. It may be enticing, but it's going to bite, and not in a nice way. How many people out there have started off as maybe a social drinker and ended up as a knockdown, drag out drunk who can't figure out how to do anything but drink? They can't have any fun without having a drink in their hand. It bites like a serpent, stings like an adder, because the more you drink, the worse your liver gets, and the worse your head, your brain gets. And these are proven medical facts. Thine eyes shall behold strange women, and thine heart shall utter perverse things. It's a common running gag, and if you spend any time in the world around those who drink, you'll hear it, about how a woman may look uh, really frumpy until you've had about 10 drinks. And then she starts looking pretty good. Your eyes shall behold strange women. Your heart shall utter perverse things. Because as the more you spend your time in the cups, the less inhibitions you have. Alcoholism is nothing, is not about control. Never has been. It's about losing one's control, drowning one's sorrow. It's really crazy that you go to when you're down, you go to a downer, because alcoholism is a downer. It doesn't improve your mood, it puts you under, it depresses you. Verse 34. Yea, you shall be like one that he that lies down in the midst of the sea. You know, you ever watched a drunk walk? They stagger around, don't they? You ever watched a sailor walk fresh off the ocean? Especially one that sails on the old wooden sailing ships? There's a reason that we call them having to, them having their sea legs. You shall be like one that he that lieth down in the midst of the sea. Even when you lie down, the world's spinning. Or he that lieth on the top of a mast. Even when you lie down, the world is spinning and moving. Now, brings us to our focus of 35. They have stricken me, you shall say, and I was not sick. You see, when you get so drunk, you lose not just your inhibitions, but it dulls your pain receptors. And many men and women become braggarts. Look at me. They beat me, but I wasn't sick. They struck me, I wasn't hurt. It's kind of like those movies, you see the guys, all you got, man? Come on, hit me. That didn't hurt. They beat me, but I didn't feel it. And when I awake, I have to have another drink. A lot of times, the only cure for a hangover is to have another drink. Sam says, "Now I can vouch for lying down by the ocean. When you got to have a bicycle taxi to bring you home, trying to find a way to open a door, your aim is just not there." When shall I awake? You want to bring 35 all the way up on the screen list? Yeah. I must have another drink. Does that sound like someone whose focus is upon God and His commandments? Does that sound like someone whose God is God or whose God is a drink? And yet people will say, well, it's okay to drink. It's okay to have a drink. Solomon doesn't paint a very nice picture of drunkenness. Answer number 3. I hope that helps, Sister T. Verse 12 says, Sister Reba, apply thine heart unto instruction and thine ears to the words of knowledge. Well, let's do just that. If you notice, a lot of this proverb is words that are, or advice that is to his son, which um, is encouraging his son uh, to be diligent, to be aware or be warned of certain vices and behaviors. And the other thing that you notice about this is Solomon will put in a bunch of negatives and then put in a bunch of positives. So in verses 1 through 11, he has a bunch of negatives. 1 and 2 is one sentence. So it's one negative. When you sit down to eat with a ruler, observe carefully what is before you and put a knife to your throat if you be given to appetite. Negative 2, do not desire his delicacies, for they are deceptive food. Actually, that's all one thought, really. Kind of still in the same vein. Next one, do not toil to acquire wealth, but be discerning enough to desist. Um, so that one's kind of a negative and a positive. Don't labor to acquire, riches, but on the other hand, be wise enough not to cease. Be wise enough not to give in. To rely on your own wisdom, or be wise enough to desist. um, and in the same vein with riches, will you not set your eyes upon that which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings; they fly away as an eagle toward heaven. Um, Kind of goes along with the idea of Matthew 6 verses 19 through 21, where he tells us, lay not up for yourselves riches on earth where moth and rust doth corrupt and thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt nor thieves break through and steal. For where your heart is, there will your treasure be also. Um, so don't labor to be rich, desist. Out of wisdom, stop. Learn restraint. Sam wants you to star his last comment, Alicia, rather than his other one, previous one. So then he has another negative. Eat thou not the bread of him that hath an evil eye, neither desire his dainty meats. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat, drink, saith he, but his heart's not with thee. And the morsel that thou hast eaten shalt thou vomit up and lose thy sweet words. So that's a negative. Another negative, 9. Eh, Speak not in the ears of a fool, for he will despise the wisdom of thy words. Another negative, remove not the old landmark, and enter not into the fields of the fatherless, for their Redeemer is mighty. He shall plead their cause with thee. Then a positive, apply thine heart unto instruction, thine ears to the words of knowledge. So he's doing a bunch of do nots and rather do this. Too often we as parents get wrapped up in the do nots that we forget to reinforce the do's. We need to make sure that we balance out our do nots with do's so that our children get positively reinforced with what they can do. They need both in their life. They need to know the boundaries. Also, they need to have ideas as to what they can do and what they should do. It helps them to develop within the constraints of the commands. When we teach our children, do not be disrespectful to your mother, or your father, don't talk back. We need to reinforce with the proper behavior. When you are told to do something, you need to simply say, yes, sir, or yes, ma'am, and go do it. That gives them leeway to go do it. It tells them how you want them or what you want them to do. But so it gives them that guideline. And as they get older, they then have more leeway. But if you reinforce that at an early age, they come to know what is expected. They know the boundaries. That way, as they get older, you then begin to ask their input and value their and allow them to speak and to, hey, what do you think about doing this instead of that, and begin taking their input. But they know that in the ultimate scheme of things, when you say, okay, you need to do this, then that they need to go do that. Well, yeah, Sam, you just spoiled her. um They also need to know the value of no or yes. Remember that when we say no as Christians, we need to then stay true to our words. Now, yes, you didn't give her ice cream, but uh, we can still reinforce. You gave her yogurt milk. Um, we can still reinforce positive behaviors with positive rewards. Um, and we should. But if we say yes to something, we need to fulfill that obligation. If we say no, we need to stay true to our no's. Um, so Solomon does that, and he tells his son to, here in verse 12, apply your heart unto instruction. That is, give diligent to it, to learn it, to listen to it, to listen to the words of knowledge. And that is the idea of taking in, listening to them, but really it is to not just listen, but to hear, as in to hear, to listen unto obedience. When he says apply thine heart, we know what we mean, what it means to apply oneself. That is to work, um, to be diligent, to discipline oneself unto a task. Uh, he applied himself unto cleaning the kitchen, means that he was busy about cleaning the kitchen until his job was done. Um, and that's the same type of an idea here. Apply thine heart unto instruction. Well, he was diligent unto learning in taking in that instruction and making that application to his life. Answer number next. First thoughts, Susanna, how difficult verse 9 can be, and how much verse 12 can help in practicing verse 9. Um, it is hard for us not to speak to a fool, not to give him a not to give him a piece of our mind. Um, Mom says that she used to give people a piece of her mind until she realized that she didn't have many pieces left. And I'm sure we just got a bunch of laughing emojis over that one. Um, if not, we should have. But you know, and that is because fools won't listen. I don't need to listen to you because you're not my boss. You're not my dad. You're not my mom. When in reality, they don't even listen to dad or mom either, or their boss. And so Solomon's words really ring true on verse 9. Speak not in the ears of the fool, for he will despise the wisdom of thy words. Um, most people would actually take you over to Matthew 7, and where it talks about casting your pearls before swine. Um, nope. And in reality, I suppose you could, because you should have the judgment to discern when it is appropriate to speak unto somebody or to give advice. But people, we need to stop misapplying that passage. The casting your pearls before swine is in regard to one's judgments, not unto the gospel. It is not unto words of wisdom. It is in regard to judgments. Contextually, it is in regard to judgments. And so one should not offer up one's judgment before those who will not listen. And if I am guilty of the same sin, or have been guilty of the same sin at some point in my life, the chances of a person listening to me are slim to none. So it makes no sense for me to offer up my judgment about a matter. So I might as well save my pearls, because a fool will not listen to the wisdom of my words. Has nothing to do with the gospel. And while the gospel is indeed very valuable, and the kingdom of heaven is like unto a pearl of great price, the kingdom of heaven is not mine to cast. And it is only one pearl. Think about that one. So, yes, verse 12, definitely, if we apply our heart to instruction, we will learn to discern where and when to speak. And when not to speak. One of the ways that when somebody asks me to pray for them to have wisdom, it's usually what I usually pray for is for the wisdom to know what to say, when to say it, and how to say it to the most profit of the kingdom. Because we need to know what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. That's called wisdom and knowledge that we get from instruction. Sam says it's better to walk away than losing one's cool. And you're right. It is. All right. Is that all of them, Alicia? No. Did we get Marian's? I think we did. Do we have any others? Nope, we didn't. 11, says Maureen, for the Redeemer is mighty, he shall plead their cause with thee. This goes back to verse 10. Do not remove an ancient landmark, or do not remove the ancient landmark, the old landmark, and enter not into the fields of the fatherless, for their Redeemer is mighty, he shall plead their cause with thee. God has always been the Redeemer, the watcher, the judge, the defender of the fatherless. And he has, even in the law, from the law of Moses forward, has always required the Israelites to look out for the fatherless. And they were accused multiple times in the prophets of failing to do just that, of perverting justice by their abuse or their oppression of the widows and the fatherless. Um, Let me see if I can give you a. In Isaiah 1:17, God says, "Learn to do well, seek judgment, relieve the oppressed, judge the fatherless, plead for the widow." In Isaiah 1:23, go ahead and go there real quick, Alicia. Isaiah 1, verse 23. Hey, Donnie. We're in Proverbs 23, and we are dealing with the last three questions of our lesson on lesson 269. Actually, we're on the first question of that, which is write one question or observation you have over this chapter. Uh, okay. So Maureen asks for has asked me to expand or expound upon verse 11 and of Proverbs 23. That's what we're working on. Verses 10 and 11 go together. And here in Isaiah 123, God says, "Thy princes are rebellious and companions of thieves. Every one loveth gifts and followeth after rewards. They judge not the fatherless, neither doth the cause of the widow come unto them. Therefore," verse 24, "saith the Lord of hosts, the mighty one," verse 24, please, "of Israel, I will ease me of mine adversaries and avenge me of mine enemies, and I will turn my hand upon thee and purely purge away thy dross and take away all thy tin. And I will restore thy judges as at the first, and thy counselors as at the beginning. Afterward thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city." And you could read through the rest of that. God was going to take up the part of the fatherless and the widows. Um, Far cry from what he says in Isaiah 9:17. In Isaiah 9:17, God says he's not going to have joy in their young men. Nine seventeen. Back up a few verses so I can get to see who we're actually talking about. A little bit further more. Okay, so we're still talking about Israel. Go down to verse 17. "Therefore the Lord shall have no joy in the young men, neither shall have mercy on their fatherless and widows, for every one is an hypocrite and an evildoer, and every mouth speaketh folly. For all of this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. For wickedness burneth as the fire; it shall devour the briars and thorns, and shall kindle in the thickets of the forest, and they shall mount up like the lifting of smoke." God says even the widows and the fatherless are hypocrites, and he was going to purge Israel. Jeremiah 22. Beginning in verse 1. Jeremiah 22, beginning in verse 1. Next book after Isaiah. Chapter 22. Thus saith the Lord, go down to the house of the king of Judah, and speak there this word, and say, hear the word of the Lord, O king of Judah, that sittest upon the throne of David, thou and thy servants and thy people that enter in by these gates. Thus saith the Lord, do justice, verse 3, please. Do or execute ye judgment. What verse? Oh, I'm in the ESV. Okay. Thus saith the Lord, execute ye judgment and righteousness, and deliver the spoiled out of the hand of the oppressor, and do no wrong, do no violence to the stranger, the fatherless, nor the widow, neither shed innocent blood in this place. Verse 4. For if ye indeed, for if ye do this thing indeed, then shall there enter in by the gates of this house kings sitting upon the throne of David, riding in chariots and on horses, he and his servants and his people. But if ye will not hear these words, I swear by myself, saith the Lord, that this house shall become a desolation. And so God, he commands them to go back to doing what they should have been doing in the first place, and that is uh, taking care of the widows and the fatherless and the strangers. Malachi chapter 3, verse 5. Oh, there he is here. Malachi chapter 3, verse 5. Last book of the Old Testament. Chapter 3, verse 5. He says, and I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, and against the adulterers, and against the false swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, saith the Lord of hosts. For I am the Lord, I change not, therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. Um, Even from the days of your fathers, ye are gone away from mine ordinances, and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith the Lord of hosts. But ye said, wherein shall we return? And I use these points to show that God has always been a defender of the widows and the fatherless, and he has required the Israelites to do that. In fact, what does he say in James chapter 1, verse 27? James 1:27. What are Christians supposed to do? Verse 27, please.
I can't see verse 27. Last verse of the chapter.
Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and the widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. So even Christians are supposed to take care of the widows and the fatherless. Yeah, I know. Hey, an onion.
He was a casualty in the efforts to liberate Christ.
You were weeding. Oh, good. We can put that in the coleslaw. Sunday? No. Uh huh. Didn't get any. I had coleslaw, but I didn't get any of that. Anyway, so here in Proverbs 23, then verse 11 or 10 and 11, do not move the ancient landmark or enter the fields of the fatherless, for their Redeemer is strong. He will plead their cause against you. And this isn't the first case of the word Redeemer either in the uh, Old Testament. The law of Moses had the idea of Redeemer in it. That idea of buying back what another has sold, as in your brother. If your brother becomes poor, Leviticus 25:25, and sells part of his property, then his nearest redeemer shall come and redeem what his brother has sold. Um, yeah. I'm not sure if that one was the case, if your brother bought it. Anyway, possibly. In Ruth, love you too. Um, you too. Ruth approaches Boaz and wants him to take care of her. And so she's in the threshing floor at night and has spread her coat over his feet. And he startles and wakes up, finds her at his feet. And he's like, "Who are you?" She says, "I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer." As one of the last remaining relatives of uh, Kilian and I wish I could remember what the what the Malin, Kilian, and what's what was the other name? I'll get it right. Elimelech. Yep. So, oops, wrong one. As one of the last relatives of Malin, Kilian, and come on, get back to Proverbs. And Elimelech's, he had the right of redemption of their property. And so she asked him to redeem that property and thus take care of her because he would then raise up seed unto them. Now, then we get down to Job. Job 19:25, if you would please. That's right. He was very ruthless, Reba. Welcome back. You have fun? What'd you end up doing? Weeding? Uh, Well, if you get them before the seeds, tell them you could eat those type of thistles. Unless, of course, they're Canada thistles. Alicia, I did ask you to go to Job, and you still aren't in Job. I even gave you chapter 19, verse 25, and you still aren't there. Why? 19, verse 25. Job says, let's back up just a verse or so. Back it up. One more. He says to them, "Why do you persecute me as God and are not satisfied with my flesh?" Now imagine Job having all of these three friends, because the fourth one hasn't spoken yet. These three friends, and all they are doing there is accuse him of being a sinner. And they sit there day after day, or time after time, accusing him of self righteousness and being a sinner. And he's like, "Well, why are you sitting there accusing me as God and not satisfied with my flesh? Oh, that my words were now written. Um, oh, that they were printed in a book, that they were graven with an iron pen and lead in the rock forever. For I know that my Redeemer liveth, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. And though after my skin worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh I shall see, or shall I see God, whom I shall see for myself, and mine eyes shall behold, and not another. Though my reins be consumed within me." Job was confident in two things: that his Redeemer was God and thus living, and that his God would stand and redeem him, buy him back from all of that trouble, and thus allow him to see him. And this idea of God as a Redeemer carries forward through the ages into Psalms. David has that idea. Psalm 19, verse 14, "Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer." Um, and 78:35, they remembered that God was their rock, the Most High God, their redeemer. It continues into Isaiah and the prophecies of Christ, and even on into the New Testament, where Christ fulfilled the idea of, fulfilled that prophecy of being a redeemer, and is today our redeemer. So God was, is, and will be the Redeemer, not just of the fatherless and the widows, but of us as well. Hope that helps, Maureen. Are there any others for number one, Alicia? I think we got them all. Sam was first. Then I think we went T, Reba, Anna, Maureen. Yep. Okay. Question number 2. What advice from this proverb will help you overcome temptations? Verse 18, says Sam. Alicia, did you not get his second one starred? He did not want this one. Thank you. 17 and 18. 17, please. "Let not thine heart envy sinners, but be thou in the fear of the Lord all the day long. For surely there is an end, and thine expectation shall not be cut off." When we look at this one in regards to how it will help us overcome temptation, remember the twofold fear of God, of the Lord. Twofold, I say, because first off, we need to have the proper reverence for God. God is our God is God. He's creator. There's a reason that he's called God, the just one, the most holy, the all powerful one, all seeing one, all present. Uh, and we, as the created, need to have. Give me time. Just let me deal with this. Uh, I'll get there. Uh, we need to have that proper respect, that proper reverence. And the second full fear is that we need to realize that as God, He He is the one that can condemn both body and soul to hell. So if we want to overcome temptation, we need to have both that fear. The one will help us in the other, and the other will help us in the one. In other words, when we have that proper shaking in our boots fear, it helps us to recognize or to build the true reverence. But also, the true reverence helps us as we recognize the power that is God. We need to have both. Let not your heart envy sinners. Sinners have no respect, they have no fear shaking in their boots of God. They don't care. But we do. And we should have that all the day long, not just a part of the day, not just when we sin. We need to have it 24 hours a day. Because as we have those two fear, that twofold fear, as we have it, it keeps us on the way. It keeps us focused and helps us in even the uh, stray thought. The ESV for here is also interesting, and I'm going to check the ASV in a moment. But I have the ESV up on my screen because I had it for the last three answers. The ESV here says, "Let not your heart envy sinners, but continue in the fear of the Lord all the day. Surely there is a future, and your hope will not be cut off." So instead of saying that there is an end, it says there is a future, and your expectation shall not be cut off. Your hope rather than expectation. Um, ASV replaces future with reward, and that's the only difference between the ASV and the ESV. There is an end, and when you put all three of them together, it looks like this. 2 Peter chapter 3, verses 7 through 11. Back it up just a minute, just a 4. Let me see 4. Oh, it is 3. Okay, so, and knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lusts, and saying, "Where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation. For this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. But the heavens and the earth, which are now, by the same word are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. But, beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is longsuffering to usward, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are in them shall be burned up. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of God, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat? Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for a new heavens and a new earth. Verse 13, please. Wherein dwelleth righteousness. Now, there will be an end, and we just read about that end. There will be an end. It will be a violent end, but it will be an end. There is also a future. We just read about the future. A new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. We look forward to that future. There also is a reward, wherein he's not willing that any should perish, but that all should be come to repentance, or shall be saved, I should say. There is a reward, and it's at the end, wherein he gives us a future. If we have that proper fear of the Lord all the day long, and stay away from those temptations, stop giving in to them. Answer number 2. Verses 22 and 23. Hearken unto thy father that begat thee. Despise not thy mother when she is old. Buy the truth and sell it not. Also wisdom and instruction and understanding. Listen unto your father that begat thee, and despise not thy mother when she is old. Mom and dad have garnered a lot of experience over their brief time on this earth. And though it may be brief, it has been longer than you. Listen unto them. Especially when you count that they are faithful. They are the ones who have brought you up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Ephesians chapter 6, verses 1 through 3. So listen unto them. Not just to listen to hear them talk, but a listen to obedience, a hear unto obedience. Don't despise them. Give them the proper respect that they're due. And Solomon says unto his son, buy the truth and sell it not. The only reason that we don't sell something is because we consider it valuable. Either that or we're hoarders, and we never know when we're going to use it. Which is it for you? Buy the truth and sell it not. But don't just stop at truth. What is truth? Sanctify them through thy truth. Thy word is truth. John 17:17. Don't just stop at truth, but by wisdom, by instruction, by understanding. Truth does not do us a lot of good if it just sits on the shelf and gathers dust. Instruction doesn't do us any good if it just sits on the shelf and gathers dust. Truth and instruction do not do us any good if we don't understand what it is or how to use it. That's where wisdom comes into play. But there again, truth, instruction, understanding, and wisdom does none of us any good if we do not apply it to our life. Buy the truth and sell it not does not mean that we just simply leave it lying around. It means that we use it. All throughout our life, we're going through events, situations, opportunities, and we are learning. We're growing. A fool will go through all those same situations and not come out any bit the wiser. We'll have garnered nothing. And we'll go through it again and again and again. A wise person goes through a situation and learns from it, learns from the mistakes that they make, and hopefully never repeats them. What? Huh? Anyway, that's the kingdom of heaven. You're right, Sam. It is something valuable and should never be let go once we have it. What in the world are you barking? I don't see anybody. Ezra? I think he's outside. Isn't he outside? What is it, pups? Huh. Don't know. Still nothing. Anyway, so a wise person, though, like I said, will go through all these situations and will learn from them. The mistakes are made to be learned from, to grow from. I don't know what he was barking at. He was looking off towards the southeast. Well, he doesn't normally sound at a 4, but I didn't even see that. So why don't you fashion up a boot scraper for over here. I'm sure you could probably get the metal around and make something. Put it into a heavy piece of maybe round log or something. Something, not too tall, obviously, but stick it in there and then just put some feet on the bottom of it so it doesn't come through. Anyway, that way we can scrape our boots off before we come inside. Boots, shoes, so you're not tracking mud in like you are. A good thing, especially when you're dealing with mud from the garden and stuff like that. Shale is. Oh wait, did you get the coleslaw made? Well, here's a carrot for it. Go do it. I mean, not a carrot, onion. Did you miss? All right, answer number next. Not to complain, says Teresa. Where'd you get that from? All right, Sister T. Give me book, chapter, verse in this one from Proverbs 23. I'll give you a moment or two. Next. Verse 12 says Sister Maureen. Yes. Verse 12. Apply thine heart to instruction and thine ears to words of knowledge. The more that we spend studying and focused upon the word, the less time that we have to be distracted by worldly things such as, uh, such as TVs, cars, possessions, or perhaps vices such as alcohol, cigarettes, and women or men. Less time we have to be delving into romance novels or gambling. Huh? Do you relay that on to Amos? He doesn't he have his telegram? Uh, I saw it. I'm just trying to think. I didn't remember where Sam used it yesterday. Sam, do you remember where you used it from yesterday? Um, Trying to help her out here. No copycats, Sister G. You can't copy. That's called cheating. Let not thy heart be troubled, brother. Believe in God, believe you in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. Sister T said complaining, and she said Sam used it yesterday from this text, and I can't remember now. That would be complimenting. That could be flattery. Don't flatter. Um, if that's the case, that would be coming from verse 8, I believe. No, well, we were talking about, yesterday would have been reflection. Um, and reflecting on the complaining. Oh, okay, that's right, because that one wasn't necessarily dealing with the temptations or the temptations from this chapter, but were temptations in the overall temptations as a whole. Which temptation are you struggling with? Which is the most challenging temptation that you are currently fighting? It was the question yesterday, and so we didn't constrain ourselves to chapter 23. We were looking at temptations in general. Which of any temptation are you struggling with that is the most challenging? And he said complaining. Thank you, Sam. Okay, so then was there any more for chapter 3 or for question 2? I think we might. Sister T changed hers to 12. The biggest, I think, the biggest advice, the best piece of advice, is to fear the Lord. Be thou in the fear of the Lord all the day long. In verse 17, if we have that proper fear of the Lord all the day long, it will help us avoid or overcome temptation. It will ultimately. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It is what helps us to open our eyes, especially as we apply ourselves to understanding and to wisdom, to instruction, as we do the rest of these advice that y'all have put forth. um Well, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, right? Um, as we do all that, it is what opens our eyes to that way of escape. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, chapter 10, verse 13. Um, it's what opens our eyes to that way of escape, that we may be able to bear the temptation. It's that fear of the Lord. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. It is the beginning of wisdom and instruction. The fear of the Lord is where we find truth, because that's where the word of the Lord is. The word of the Lord is what teaches us the fear of the Lord. It is where we find wisdom, instruction, and understanding, um, that we can then focus upon. Verses 23 and 12. All right, so anything else, Alicia, for number 2? Again, I ask. 29 about complaining. Um, 29 is more about, no, 29 is about, uh, I guess you could say that, because I mean, the alcoholic does complain a lot, doesn't they? It is kind of empty. Sister Reba says, be aware of your temptations and stay far away from them. Thank you. Well, I have 2 or 3 different versions going that I can read, Sister Anna. But I'm in the King James at the moment, so. I mean, 29 is, who hath woe, who hath sorrow, who hath contentions, who hath babbling, who hath wounds without cause, who hath redness of eyes. And then he answers that question in verse 30. As we discussed earlier, they that tarry long at the wine, they that go to seek mixed wine. And it's pretty much the same, pretty close to the same in both the ESV and the ASV. But you are right. 29 in ESV says that instead of babbling, it offers complaining. Babbling is empty speech. Uh, Now you've got me curious what the actual Greek word is, or the Hebrew word is. The word is siak, which means a contemplation by implication and utterance, babbling, communication, complaint, meditation, prayer, and talk. Meditation, complaint, musing, plaint, complaint, following are dubious, musing, anxiety, trouble, and talk. That's what Brown Driver Briggs says about this word. It is used a total of 14 times in the Old Testament. Complaint is 9 times, babbling once, communication once, meditation once, prayer once, and talking once. So complaint would work well there. Uh, I was trying to find Reba's a verse that went along with Reba's, but you want to bring Reba's back up, please? I think that would go well with verse 1 or verse 2, verse 1 and 2. Kind of an implication of verses 1 and 2. When thou sittest to eat with a ruler, consider diligently what is before thee, and put a knife to thy throat if thou be a man given to appetite. Know your temptations, know your limits, and stay far away from your temptations. So, good point. I don't think that needs expanded upon very much because that's very true. We know what our triggers are, guys, gals. We know what our triggers are. And it's either an arrogant person or a fool who says that they are strong enough to withstand their triggers. I can't. I'm not physically strong enough. I'm not spiritually strong enough to withstand my triggers. And so you know that we, each and every one of us, needs to get stronger, and we can only overcome by the grace of God, by the strength of God. Hence the reason that God makes the way of escape, not you or I. Know your triggers and stay away from them. Yes, being angry can be a temptation. It's also an addiction, by the way. One can be addicted to being angry because when one is angry, there are a bunch of hormones that floods one's system, and one can get addicted to those hormones. If you know a person who is angry, you have two options: know their triggers and stay away from them, or stay away from the person. Personally, I'd rather help them overcome their triggers. You are responsible for your actions. And if you know a person's triggers and you deliberately push those triggers, you are responsible for causing the issue. They are ultimately responsible for how they respond, but you are just as guilty of causing that sin as they are for falling victim to the sin. Just as much as a woman who dresses provocatively is responsible for causing the lustful thoughts, the situation that that engenders the lustful thoughts in our brothers' minds, leading to that sin of lust. If you dress that way, you are intentionally causing others to think that way. You say, well, that's not why I dressed. I just wanted to look good. Yeah, you can't go around half naked, 3/4 of the way naked, and not inspire those thoughts in other people. You know the effect that your outfit is going to have on other people. You are not that foolish. I had to think there. I'm going to put it politely. You're not that foolish, and neither are you that innocent. Reba says, if I walk down an aisle at the the wine aisle at the store, it doesn't bother me. But if I go down the bakery section, I'm in trouble. Being angry isn't a sin, but staying angry is. There is a point at which anger can be a sin. Because the Bible says, be angry and sin not. So there is a point at which anger can be a sin. Staying angry is one way to be a sin, to sin. And there is other fallout from anger as well. Um, so we can be angry and we cannot sin. And by the way, I'm just going to throw this out there. We can also address appropriately and people will still lust. The problem is that if we dress appropriately and people sin, it is not our responsibility because we have done what we can to mitigate that. Right? You're not going to find me running around outside in public minus a shirt showing off my six pack for two reasons. First off, um, it is indecent exposure, and secondly, I don't have a six pack, and nobody wants to see that. So, if I'm dressed appropriately and somebody else sins, thinking lustful thoughts after me, it is not my responsibility because I have dressed appropriately. If I say something innocent, acted in a normal and decent manner, and somebody gets angry, it is not my responsibility. I did not push the trigger. Or should I say, I did not pull the trigger. However, if I knowingly dressed provocatively, then I am a party to their sin. Same way with anger. Same way with any of these other ones. Like Sam mentioned, that of stealing. So, all right, done with question two. Question two was, Reba's answer to was, be aware of your temptations. Know your triggers. Stay away from them. If you're out shopping with Reba, volunteer to go down the bakery aisle for her, just as a way of preventing her from sinning. Don't yell, Anna. It hurt my ear. And if you're out shopping with Sister T, stay away. Make sure that you keep her away from the candy aisle wherein the Weight Watchers pills are. So, answer number three, or question number three. Write out one action step you will take in your life based on today's reading. Begin your answer with "I will." And we might have just lost Sister T because she's laughing too hard. Answer one. Anna says, I will stick with the truth of the truth of the truth. I will make sure that the company I keep will not lead me to temptations or the way of sinners. Answer number two. These ones are just going to be answers, Alicia. So let's just. Sister T says, I will do my best to speak good in all things. Verse 16. I don't know who's on YouTube that you're talking about there, Sister T. Uh, Anna says, I blame the headache. Reba says, I will strive to stay away from temptations and focus on God. Sam says, I will take my mourning to God to receive comfort and confess my shortcomings to God and saints and be more prayerful for others and comfort the others. Sorry for their three had hard limiting it. Just make sure you limit it to the chapter. There you go. Maureen says, take heed. I will take heed to the instructions of verse 23 and know how to spend time wisely. Are there any others? Or did we get everybody? Well, you all. Um, should be in the figure, I think. Ask Ask Alicia. Because it was on the table with the uh, letters, but it might be on the floor there because she did go out to the kitchen last night and knock a whole bunch of stuff on the floor there. Oh, I think you found it. All right, let's go to God in prayer. Our Father God in heaven, we thank you for this day of life and for all the opportunities it offers that you have given us. May we use the opportunities in a way that glorifies you, making the most use of it. Father, may it be profitable unto us. As we have studied this day, may we recognize our shortcomings and stay far away from them. May we apply ourselves unto truth and wisdom and understanding and instruction, that we may be children that rejoice your heart. And Father, we pray that you would strengthen us for this task. We ask that you would help us to speak right things. And to that end, Father, like David said, we ask that you would create in us a clean heart and renew in us a right spirit. We love you, Father. and we seek to do your will here on this earth. Keep us from wrong. We know that we will go through temptations. We do not ask, Father, that we be deprived of these, but that we be able to see the way of escape and be able to bear up under them, knowing that as we come through, we will be strengthened to meet the next one. We thank you for the trials that come our way, knowing that they also strengthen our faith. And again, we ask that you would refine us, make us stronger, and may we always stay true to you. In Christ's name, we pray all of this, asking your forgiveness for our shortcomings, for our moments of weakness. In his name, amen. Hopefully, prayerfully, y'all have been strengthened and edified. And no, Sister T, they're all on Facebook here. Edified to a greater, more faithful service in his kingdom. Thank you all for being here with me and for providing a wonderful devo. May you always be devout Christians, strong, faithful, and may you only get stronger for all the days of your life. As you do, remember to add to your faith devotion. I'll see you then. God bless in your walk with him. I love you all. Have a blessed day.